So let's go ahead and start. Your well-being is very important. For one, stress. Everybody has stress, right? You guys have stress. You have a tremendous amount of stress with your academics, home life, work maybe. Maybe you have to do other things. So there's stress that builds up. It would not be correct to say, oh, you guys are just teenagers, you don't have any stress, because that's not true. Or your stress is not as much as the person trying to pay the bills and buy groceries, right? Stress is stress. It's a killer either way, no matter how you slice it. These things here contribute, or stress contributes to these things greatly. And this is something that you're going to have to, when you look at these, if you don't want to face cardiovascular disease, stroke, or diabetes, or things like that, you're going to have to learn how to work stress out of your life. Also, you're going to be able to learn how to deal with that, or you won't be very successful in your chosen career. You're going to be stressed out, divorced. I think I mentioned before, in medicine, all different types of medicine have the highest divorce rate. They have an astronomical suicide rate, a drug addiction, alcohol addiction, spousal abuse, both ways, male and female. Wife come home and beat the crap out of her husband, I mean, both ways they build up this stress, and primarily it's because they don't know how to deal with it. So stress is a very direct connection to heart attacks. That's why people die in the morning. I mentioned that. You guys y'all will be going to the hospital about 9 o'clock. You missed 2 very important hours in the morning, 7 to 9. That's when most people die. It's right in the morning. Because they get up, they don't like their job, they're stressed out about it, they don't want to go to work. They wake up, they fought with their wife last night, they woke up, they're all still mad about what they went to sleep with, right? And they're fighting that morning. They don't want to go there. So it built up this stress, they start having chest pain, the heart doesn't like it, and it stops. Right? And they go into cardiac arrest. So a great number of things. Stroke, hypertension. Stress is a direct relation to high blood pressure. You have a lot of stress in your life, your blood pressure is going to be high. Gastrointestinal problems. These guys that take all this, the purple pill and all that, they eat Tums like candy. All these things build up. And of course the emotional disorders you get where you have to take a pill in order to function. So the person is so stressed out they have to take like a Valium or Ativan or something in the morning so they can get through their day. So our goal here is just to make sure that didn't work. Oh yeah, it did. That we look at stress truthfully and figure out how are we going to deal with this. Now I'll give you some hints. This is all opinion. This is how you deal with your stress is opinion. All right? I know how I deal with mine. I haven't had a stressful day in such a long time. I don't even remember the last time I really got stressed out. But and I work on an ambulance. I don't think that ambulance work is stressful. The calls are quite tedious, but I don't think it's that stressful. You just learn to deal with that. And the same way here, you guys want to go into working with little babies, little sick babies. You want to do all this stuff, and that's going to be stressful as well. There's quite a bit of physical demands that are put on that causes stress. You start thinking crazy, okay? And then all this stress essentially leads to a lot of bitterness. So you get in there. Has anyone ever done this? I know I have. You're facing a situation. All right, you're not exactly sure what that. Let's say that there's trouble. You got a phone call and there's going to be some trouble at school. All right, and you know that, so you're going into it aware that there could be some trouble. You're not 100% sure, but there could be trouble. It sounds like it. And you start role-playing this stuff in your mind. And you start going over and over and over it, and time you get to school or wherever the trouble spot is, you're so worked up about it, and you haven't even seen the problem. You don't know what the problem is. But mentally, you've made it the worst possible case scenario in your life, and now you're all bent about it. And so mentally, you do that on yourself before you find out what the problem is. You'll learn, if you already haven't, that there's very little that you actually have control of. Read this book, I'll give it credit, but I can't remember what it is. It's that you have, within your control, you only have so much that you can do. Everything else is out of your control. So why worry about it? Give you an example, maybe. In the news right now, Syria. All that stuff taking place in Syria. Do you have any control over that? Why get worked up over it? You don't have any control over it. Not that you wouldn't want to be concerned, but you have no control, so there's no reason to get your blood pressure up. Maybe a little bit closer to home. You're watching a TV show, a fictional TV show. All right? And the characters on the fictional TV show are not doing something right. They're doing something wrong. Oh, she slept with him, slept with her best friend's brother or something, or her best friend's boyfriend or something like that. And you get all worked up about that. Has anybody ever done that? You're watching TV and you're getting worked up about what's taking place on TV. It's fiction. It never happened. Why are you getting riled up over fiction? Just like on the news. We don't live in Dallas. So all this stuff taking place in Dallas, I'm like watching the news going, yeah, I don't have any control over that. All this problem with the buses and all this stuff and all that. I can't get worked up over that. I don't have any control over it. It's outside of my sphere. Now, here's another thing. I overheard you the other day talking about me over by the water fountain. You were saying, I don't know if I can stand it here with that bald guy. I don't know. He's fat, he's opinionated. He dresses funny. And he's ugly, man. I don't know. Ugh. Right?
No.
So you're saying, did that know what she said? She said to you about the water fountain. I heard it. Okay, so, should I get worked up about that?
You shouldn't.
Huh?
You shouldn't.
I shouldn't? Why? Your opinion of me, I have no control over. It's your opinion. You can say anything you want about me. I don't care. Even if it's true, I don't care. It's your opinion. I'm not going to get worked up. I'm not going to get stressed out about what you think. Okay? I wore these Tasmanian devil house shoes around the airport when I was flying. They were comfortable, warm. They looked cool. Another guy came in from a different base, and he looks down and he goes, those are some queer tennis house shoes. I look at him and was like, well, good. I'm glad I don't value your opinion. Who cares what you think of my house shoes? You're not wearing them, right? So you've got to be able to separate these things, little things like that we get stressed about. You've got to be able to put that out. What you're saying about me at the water fountain, if I get worked up about this, it's only going to affect my health. Correct? It's not that you just don't care about certain things. It's that you get a good understanding of what you have control over and what you don't have control over, and you don't worry about the things that you have no control over. Right? So that helps out. When you get in here, you have certain things. You have these physical demands. mental demands, very mental component in healthcare. You have to be able, and sooner or later, you're going to be like me. People who can't make decisions drive me up the wall. You know, you're at a stop sign. It's your turn to go. Go. Right? Turn. Make the decision and turn. And they can't do it. Simple decisions and that sort of thing, as you progress in medicine, will get to you. All right? Don't let it stress me out, really. I just, like, surely you don't make a decision. Or like on the road. You're going down the road, driving down the road, 2 lanes. You're in your lane, and another car just blows by you. You're going 70 and they're going 100 miles an hour. How many of you guys get bent over that? Man, you see the way they passed me? You know, I don't care. Job security for me. Right? You're going to break out one of these days and I'm going to get to fix you. So I'm driving down the road. I don't care how you drive, as long as it doesn't, as long as you don't run me over. But you guys don't have to respond to emergencies quick. You're going to have to make decisions very quick. You've got to learn. It's a mental thing. It's something learned. It's nothing that you have automatically. Decision-making, sound decision-making, good critical thinking is something that you learn over a period of time. And I'm not saying this year. If you're a junior and you're planning on coming back next year, I'm not saying even next year. That is a year-long process where you have to learn. We're going to help you along a little bit, try to make those decisions and make good decisions and think about what you're doing before you say and do it, right? Because typically we have a problem with saying something too quickly without thinking about it. But all these types of situations is something that you get used to. But it is, until you get used to it, it's very demanding. Anybody ever had someone put a dead baby in your hands? It's pretty stressful, let me tell you. Even in my book. All right? When mom comes up to you and hands you their child, and you look down and the child's like, oh my. All right? It's not a good thing. It's very stressful. All right? So, along with hunger and everything else, we get these different definitions. I have a different definition of stress than you do. All right? Because I've had mom put their baby in my hand and their baby wasn't alive. You know? So anyway, this is how you don't look at this thing with stress. Hopefully, and I hope you never have this take place. Hope no one ever comes up with their child and puts the child in your hand and say, I don't think they're breathing. All right? But back to that quick decision, how many minutes do you have to decide on to do something? Yeah, seconds. I got this poster up here. It's sort of cool because it has this really cool helicopter on it. It says when seconds count. And let me tell you, when someone has a laceration to their femoral artery, seconds count. Either they're going to bleed to death or you're going to stop them from bleeding to death. Now, back to this thing, you take the knowledge and skills that you've had, right, that you learn, and you apply those, but it takes time. You know, you guys have been, what, class 2 days? I'm not expecting you to make these big, huge instant decisions right away. But by, you leaving? See you, man. By the end of the semester, I would expect you guys to be able to start making good decisions. And you'll see what I mean. You'll make good decisions. You'll think about what you're doing. You'll get in your other classes, and you're going to get restless. I promise you. You're going to get in there and go, man, I wish they'd shut up. I wish they'd make up their mind what they're going to do, right? So, this is something that you're going to have to adjust to. You're looking at these different situations. My situation is, I worked with a partner this summer that was a stress ball. He had to take all kinds of stomach medicine. He was stressed about everything. I had to correct him on some things he was saying. I thought he was going to throw up. He got so stressed out. He goes, do we need to go talk about this with the supervisor and all that? I'm like, no, it's a no-brainer. I've already forgotten about it. And he goes, oh, that just worries me and all this, blah, 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 right? And I'm like, did anybody die? No. Then it's a small thing. Everything's a small thing unless someone dies, and that's a big thing, right? So when you look at that, if nobody died, we're all good. It's small. It still may be bad, but it's small. All right? But we can deal with it. We can't deal with killing people, right? So that's why I'm talking about you're going to encounter patients at the hospital that are mean, they're sick, they're cranky. Some don't really care a flip about you or the hospital or anything. You don't encounter all different kinds of people. And these people are going to stress you out. People probably stress me out more than anything. You know, because there's a lot of crazy people out there. You know, so when you look at this, common causes, you look at pediatric patients, everybody gets stressed when you start dealing with pediatrics. The family, the husband, the wife stressed, the grandmother stressed, all right? They impute that stress into you when they do that. So you have to be able to sort of throw up your blocker and say, you're not going to take that. You know, I can't tell you how many times I went to someone's house. They called me. I didn't come uninvited. They dialed 911, not me. I'm not going to come over your house and say, hey, just in the neighborhood, right? I'm watching TV or sleeping or eating or something. They call 911 and they start cussing me out. I go in their house like, why are you so mean to me? You need the help, right? You called for help. I'm here to help you. So this is something, you get into situations where you have to deal with death. I think probably the best thing that happened to this one year was the first day of clinical rotation. The 2 students in the ER, they got there right about 9. They had just finished a CPR doing chest compressions on someone. They didn't make it. Not a spoiler alert for you for CPR. 95% of everybody that goes into cardiac arrest dies. So we'll pick that up later. That's just a trailer into CPR. Guy died. The nurse was about to go in and tell the family that the patient didn't make it. This happened to be this lady's fiance that didn't make it. They were getting married like in a week. And the nurse goes, you know, this would be good for you. Come on with me. Didn't tell them anything. Just come on with me. So they're like, oh yeah, first day clinical, woohoo, you know. They go in there all happy and they shut the door and they're like, oh, this doesn't look good. Tears, all this. And the nurse goes, we did everything we could, but your fiance didn't make it. And she started crying and doing all that stuff, you know. And like, but we don't get married in a week. Like, sorry. And the students are just like deer in the headlight, man. They were just sitting there like, what? First hour, they still had iron wrinkles in their hanger wrinkles in their scrubs. They still smell new, you know. I mean, so this is something you have to get used to. Violence, not so much, but I will tell you. Just like I had a student, EMT student, in my other class I taught over the summer. He came up to me last night and he goes, man, I had to help the nurses restrain this patient. She was 400 pounds and she was mad and she was like a freight train running at them, throwing things in the emergency room. Not in their house, in the emergency room, okay? So we'll go into that quite a bit. You make sure that you're safe. You're not getting paid for this. You make sure that you're safe. You want to help out, but you want to make sure that you don't get injured or you don't get that it's safe. You always have abuse and neglect, elderly abuse. What's the first thing you think about if someone abused? Huh? Okay. What?
You get that.
No, someone abusing something. What word pops up in your head right away?
Hit.
Huh?
Hit.
We're going a different direction. Children. You say abuse and you think, I think, oh, children abuse, child abuse, right? And there's probably more elderly abuse than children abuse. What happens is, Pops gets old, you've got your life, you're married, you got your house, and but you feel bad about putting Pops in the nursing home, probably where he should belong, right? With his physical things, he's got a lot of physical things that has to take place. That's very demanding on you. All right, he needs his butt wiped, and he can't go to the bathroom by himself, and he needs to be bathed and fed. Right, a lot of maintenance. Okay, a lot of things. I'm not saying anything. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that. All I'm saying is a lot of children, they don't have what it takes to put Pops in a nursing home, so he's well taken care of. They bring him Pops home and abuse him. They stick him in a corner somewhere and don't feed him for 2 or 3 days, or go out all night and leave him there where he can't even get out of bed. Right? Had an older guy that begged me, once we got him out of his house, begged me for some water. He goes, "If you just had any water." I hadn't had water like in a couple days. I'm like, "Yeah, I know, your urine's all jacked up. I can see that in your foliage. You're really dehydrated. Sorry, I don't have any water." I wanted to stop at the convenience store and buy him a bottle of water, but I'd get fired. You know, I'll give water to IV, how's that? Tried to get something to moisten his mouth, but stuck him over there. We went in there, got him. The whole medical thing was false. He had a UTI, he had a urinary tract infection because his children not giving him any water or something to eat. He was really dehydrated, and they wanted us to take him to this sort of hospital that really didn't accept patients like that. And I said, "Are you guys going to follow us in your car? Are you coming in the ambulance?" He goes, No, we're going out tonight. They're going to admit him." "Oh, no, they're not. They're going to give him some antibiotics for this UTI probably he has, and then rehydrate him and send him back home. You need to be prepared to pick him up at the hospital." Nah, they're going out. So we couldn't convince them that they're not going to keep your dad. They're going to discharge your dad probably in 3 or 4 hours. But that was their plan. They were so tired of taking care of him that they called 911 to come pick him up, and so they could go out. So, I mean, if you don't take care of your parents, I think that is a great thing to do. I hope my sons take care of me. But don't stick me in a corner. Don't stick me in a room if I can't function in that room. It would be more merciful just to turn me out into the pasture like a common animal and let me defend for myself than lock me in a room, right? So this is not uncommon. Not uncommon at all. You'd be shocked to hear about that. And the other thing that's very stressful is death or injury to a coworker, someone that you know. That takes a lot in it. So, just like you guys, a lot of stress. I don't know if you knew that kid who got killed in that car wreck last year. I don't know his name. Siegfried, yeah. Wear your seatbelt, okay? But we'll talk about that when we talk about trauma. But that was stressful to a lot of people. A lot of my EMT students knew that guy well. It was a very stressful time for them. So what happens is when you get overstressed, you start getting burned out. You guys probably have seen burned out teachers, right? They don't care. They're horrible. That might be me, but they're horrible. They just give you a worksheet and they go play on the computer. They don't have any indication whatsoever that they cared about teaching you anything. They're just stressed out. So what happens here You lose enthusiasm about what you do. You don't have any energy. You're always feeling frustrated. You don't think good about yourself. You want to be isolated. That's different than being solitude. Solitude is good. Being alone and quiet, think, gather your thoughts, good. Isolation, that means that I don't want to be around people. We are people. People are made to be around people. We're not designed to be isolated. That's a problem when you start getting that isolated. Unless you're a cop, you don't trust anybody. Don't ever think a cop trusts you. Any of your parents police officers? I have one of my EMT students, her dad is a Dallas police officer. I said, you think your dad trusts you? It's not in their nature to trust people. They get killed that way. So the police would never trust you deep. They may lie to you and say, oh yeah, I trust you, but they don't. I mean, I have a lot of friends that are cops. Friends of mine, they don't trust me. I mean, because what you get pulled over by a police officer, what do?
License and registration.
Yeah, you give them your license and registration. They say, why were you going so fast? What comes out of your mouth then? Yes, a lie. You're going to lie to them to get out of the ticket. I don't hand them my paramedic license for the fun of it. I want to get out of the ticket too. Right? What do you do for a living? I'm a paramedic. I never tell them I'm a teacher. I always tell them I'm a paramedic. Even going through a school zone, I can get out a ticket that way. So there's a lot of mistrust here when you start looking at this. So all these things add up together and you start getting burned out. You don't feel like doing your job. I can guarantee you guys, if I go there with this job, this vocation, you won't see me. When I get burned out or I don't feel like doing this anymore, I'll quit. I won't do it. I don't do stuff, a vocation I don't like to do. There's just too many other vocations in the world to do that. So why do something that you don't like to do that's making you miserable? Go do something that you like to make money on. Never go into healthcare for the money. I mean, the money's good, certain jobs. If you go for any job for the money, and it's sure not teaching, okay? And sure not emergency medicine. Those are two low-paying jobs. But never do what you're going to do for money. You'll be very disappointed in the end. So death and dying, we're going to be around, you're going to be around death and dying. Every year, every day, people die in the hospital. You may or may not be there. I don't know. You may or may not experience. I don't know too many that get through a year of clinical that doesn't, that is not associated with it. So you have to sort of look at this and sort of see, work that through. These are the 5 stages you probably want to commit to memory. Right away, people start denying, and it's natural, and it's not a step process. Some people go all the way to acceptance, but some people start denying it. Oh, I can't believe that happened. I just can't believe it. You should believe it. There's the body. I mean, you got to believe it. There's a dead person in front of you, so you can believe that. But mentally, they get worked up in there. They get anger. You may have family members say stuff to you. You may be in the room at the time that their family members died. They may say something to you like, why didn't you do more? And you're thinking in the back of your head, high school student, or they may be cussing you out. It's not you. You have to understand that. You're just the object that's in the way at the time. So don't get worked up that they're saying these things about you. It's just you. I've had family members push me, do all this other sort of crazy stuff, and that's a felony as far as a healthcare worker is concerned, okay? So it's not you. It's just the moment. Don't let them hurt you, but don't get all up in the air about them calling you bad things. You want to bargain? Okay, let me. If they're not dying, I'll see my dad. I'll see him more. I'll go over there more than once a year and see him. All right. If he's not dead, I'll start visiting him like I should. Yeah. Huh? Yeah. If he can be resurrected again, I'll go visit him. All right. Just a side note. Not gonna get in your business, but there is very, very little in this world that should separate you from your parents. All right? If you got issues with your parents or friends, deal with them. All right? There's very little things. There's some out there, okay, that will. But there's very little things that should separate you from your parents. That's just personal opinion. Most things that I see, that I've seen, family gets there and they haven't seen their mom or their dad in years, and it's over something silly. Like, oh, you gave Bubba the car instead of me. Go buy your own car. You know, it's my choice to give. It's my car. I give it to who I want to, right? I mean, and you see the silliness in that? Or you call me fat. You keep calling me fat. She called me fat for years, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I haven't seen my mom in 3 years because she keeps calling me fat. Well, you do weigh 500 pounds.
That's just obese.
Okay, I mean, you think she's calling you fat for a reason? You know?
Who's me?
I mean, all this stuff. I said, I couldn't get along with my mom or my dad because they couldn't accept my meth use. And they kept saying I dressed like a prostitute. Okay? You still look like you used meth and now you're dressed like a prostitute. I mean, you see what I'm saying? I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, but don't separate over that. Deal with that. All right? When you go see your parents, leave your needles at home and dress appropriately. Right? I mean, little things. I mean, I know there's big things that get in the way, but there's not too many. So what happens here is depression. Depression, to be depressed or sad that someone has died, is normal. What they're talking about here is clinical depression, saying that I can't get out of bed in the morning. I can't get up out of bed. I'm so depressed. That is not normal. You need to seek, that person needs to seek help. All right? They need psychological help. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. To talk to someone, help you out of that situation, but you don't need to get in here. And then the final stage, and the stage that is most healthy, is acceptance. And you see this all the time on the news, especially with the tragic events that's happened, the back about 9/11, all these tragic events, all these things where people can't let go. They keep, every year they bring this back up. You're not letting go of that. You have to deal with that a little bit better. I understand that you miss your husband or your wife or your children, but that was when, 2011, what was that? Or 2001. Yeah, that was, 13 years ago? And you're still hanging on to that grief? It won't do you any good. It's bad mentally for you, physically for you. You've got to let that go. You've got to figure a way to let it go. I'm not saying that's easy. All right? I would never say that. I'm just saying that you've got to figure out a way to do it. You've got to come to a part of acceptance. The grieving process is natural. You want to recognize this in the patients. You want to make sure that you recognize this, that you don't say anything inappropriate with the patient. If you don't know what to say, what do?
Don't say anything.
Exactly, don't say anything. If you're in the room and you don't know what to say and they're asking you questions, just excuse yourself. Say, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. leave. Go find someone else. Maybe they can help them, right? Be tolerant about the angry reactions. We already talked about that. Listen to your patients. A lot of times, all they need is someone to listen to them. We have a tendency as people to talk more than we listen. Recognize that when you need that patient or your friends, okay, need to speak to you and listen to them. You know, don't try to interject your situation in on that. Oh yeah, I went to this, and this is me, and this is me, and all of a sudden it becomes more about you than listening to that person. Have you guys ever been there? You know, you're trying to tell a friend something, you're trying to get them to listen to you, and then they're, huh?
And they don't listen.
Yeah, they don't listen, and then they start talking about themselves. Then it becomes about them instead of you. You know, offer them some comfort, try to comfort them. Sometimes all the patient needs is someone to come up and do this, right? Maybe, I'm not going to hold your hand, but, you know, maybe that's all they need. They're in distress. Maybe they're not hurt that bad, but their injury seems big to them. All they need is someone to accompany them. Come on. Oh, elderly people, a lot older than I am, just to make that clear, until we get that sorted out. Elderly people need someone to just come hold their hand. They're scared to death. They need someone to hold their hand and give them a little comfort. That's okay. That's good. If you can't do that, if you're unable to do that, then healthcare, clinical healthcare may not be your cup of tea. I'm a former Marine, right? You got to show some empathy to these people and their sickness. Give them some comfort. Never, ever give them false hope. Never. We run into this all the time with SIDS babies. CPR, you get in there. You're doing CPR on somebody. You're doing CPR on their baby. I tell them, they say, how is it? You know, they want information. They want you to give them information. My canned response usually is, they're not breathing, they don't have a pulse, and it looks bad. You need to prepare yourself. You need to get prepared for the worst. So don't ever give them false hope. Don't tell them that it's going to be okay. Right? It probably won't be okay. Or even if they're in a different situation, another bad thing to say is, I know how you feel. I wouldn't say that. You're going to get your head ripped off by some patients. Okay, so you've got to watch what you say to patients and make sure it's appropriate. Like I say, if you don't know what to say, don't say anything at all. You may not know how they feel. You may not have had to experience what they're experiencing. And I'm just not talking about death. I'm talking about other things. So, you know, can you imagine someone? They come into a hospital. I mean, they're older than dirt. They're 90 years old. They probably should be dead. You know, they're doing CPR on them. I mean, 90-year-old, their chance of survival is okay. So they've been married for 65 years, and their wife is in the waiting room, the room waiting. And now you've got someone that's been together for 65 years. Can you imagine the change in lifestyle that's going to take place? You need to be empathetic with that, you know. I mean, you need to understand that yeah, they're both old. They're both really old, but that's still going to be a major change in lifestyle for these people. It's huge when you start looking at that grieving process. And if you say things that are inappropriate, you lengthen that grieving process. So, good things to do. Recognize what's stressing you out. Deal with those stressors. Don't cover the stressors up. How do people cover stressors up? What are some ways that people cover stress up? They don't deal with it. They're just covering it up. In the back, what do you think? That's good. They don't admit it, that something's bothering them, they cover that up. What else?
They smell horrible.
Yeah, smell. You know when I'm not, I don't put on mask. You know when I'm frustrated. Okay?
They get really frustrated and rude when you try to appropriate topic with them.
Yeah. What are things that people do that where they hide stress? Drugs, alcohol. I'm going to drink it away. It is not normal for someone to get off at 7 o'clock in the morning and go get drunk. Even though that's your time you get off in the morning. You work all night, it's actually your nighttime, right? In the weird world of shift work, 7 a.m. to you is nighttime. It's abnormal for you to want to go by yourself and go out and get drunk. There's a problem there. Huh?
They shouldn't even be open.
Yeah, everybody. They have bars out there, police bars primarily, that open that early in the morning. So when the police officers get off work, they can go get drunk. I used to work for jail. Let me tell you, police officers are horrible with that. So they're crazy. So lifestyle changes. You got to learn to balance all this. If something's stressing you out, get rid of the stressor. If you can't get rid of the stressor, then you have to figure out how to deal with it. You can't get rid of the stress of homework, right? You're going to have homework. You just have to get used to it. You can't get rid of the stress of tests. You're going to have tests for a long period of time. So how do you decrease that stressor of the test? Study. Be prepared for the test. It decreases the stress there if you're prepared. Good balance. This is why I asked you guys what your hobbies are when we first started out. Balance your work. Your work is here with recreation and what you do. Your family time. It's very important. That's why I don't do anything at night. When I leave here at 4, I shut down. I don't think about you guys. I don't think about work. I don't do any work at home. When I get home with my family, that is my family time. I do not allow my work to interrupt my family time at all. I won't do it. So it's a good balance. Get out something, a hobby outside of what you do here, and do that. Golf. I like to shoot. Right? I like to work out. I go exercise a little bit, you know. I don't exercise for stress. Exercise stresses me out. So I exercise so I can do the things I like to do. So I can go out and hit a golf ball a long way. Right? So I can go out and go to the lake or something. I'm in shape enough. My exercise is different than others. Other people exercise to relieve stress. I don't do that. It causes a little stress, but that's okay. I know how to deal with that. And if you can't manage these, your work environment, here. Let's say things change at the school, and my boss changes, right? Which happens a lot. My boss changes, and I can't deal with it. I can't deal with the change. What? I can't deal with them coming in the room like that. How am I going to fix that?
Deal with it.
That's right. Either I'm going to have to deal with it, I'm going to have to work with it, or leave and get another job. My expression is, I was looking for a job when I found this one. I can go out and get another one. It's okay. That may not pay as well, but I can adjust to that, right? Just adjust my finances where I don't get stressed out about that and do what I like. If none of this helps, if you're sitting there and say, man, I can't deal with any of this. I can't get things under control. Then seek someone that has a degree in that knows how to do that can look at that and go, here's your problem. This is what you need to do with that. Because when we get in stressful situations, all we can feel is the stress. And we can't, I know this in EMS for sure. When I was a supervisor, I had these guys that are in these calls, very good paramedics, great paramedics. but they get stressed with the call and they get tunnel visioned and they can't figure out what to do, I'd show up looking from the outside in because I had no stress. It wasn't my patient, right? So looking from the outside in, I say, here's your problem. This is what you're doing wrong. Stop. Take a breath. Think about what you're doing. This is what you're doing wrong. All they needed was me to say, this is what you're doing wrong. Right? And then it kicked in and then they did their job. You see what I'm saying? So, a lot of things here, but you can seek help. There's nothing wrong with that. Personal opinion, I think if you keep having to go back and seek professional help, you probably should do something different. You're not dealing with that stressor very well. Any questions?